Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a October 16th edition of the MSP Initiative, MSP Live. This is a fun time of the year. We are definitely in what I like to call, it's not just my term, I didn't make it up, but I'm definitely using it, the gauntlet, based on how many events in our sandbox in MSP land are happening in, like, I don't know, 60-day window or so. But it just happens to always work out that way. And here we are. So I'm going to do some housekeeping, and then we're going to get in with our guests for today's show. And here we go. So MSPinitiative.com, you're going to see everything that we do pretty much listed there, including links to what will be the recording of this podcast. So if you're watching it or listening to it after the fact, it'll link you to the podcast or the YouTube. Like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. You'll also see information on the MSP community block parties. We just finished Miami, like literally last week, a week and a half, not even. So all of the photos and albums and videos from Miami will be posted shortly online, and that was awesome. We closed out a almost 1,300 person event, block party at DattoCon Miami. I'm told that was the last DattoCon, so end of an era. We'll talk about that with our guest today. But we are headed down to Sydney for what used to be called DattoCon, is now called Kaseya Connect APAC. So that is going to be in 2 weeks, and we'll be holding our last community block party of the year there. So if you're an MSP and you're in the area or you're headed to that conference, go to mspinitiative.com, click on block parties, register for free, and looking forward to seeing you there. So we're also finishing the last several spots on the Channel Sports Tour. So for all of our friends here on the US and Canada side, or just NFL fans, because I know it's a growing popular sport outside of North America as well, we still have Green Bay, Dallas, and Los Angeles coming up between now and the end of the year, where we're hosting MSPs at NFL games as channel events, which has been pretty fun so far. So if you're interested in any of those, please add yourself to the wait list. Again, you get approved, totally, food, beverage, game ticket, all inclusive. So definitely take advantage of that. So all that being said, that is the housekeeping at mspinitiative.com. First time on the show, and looking forward to talking a little bit today with Peter Bell, who is sorry for waking you up early, Peter. He's down
All
under.
good. All
Now,
good.
how you doing today?
I'm very good, George. It's going on 8 a.m., so the day's long already.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad it wasn't like 5 a.m. So we got you at least for coffee
Perfect.
time.
You did
Awesome.
indeed.
Awesome. So Peter, I'm gonna give you a moment to, first time on the show, we always ask people to, like, little walk down history lane, give you a little background on yourself. So let's start there, and then we'll go into the topics of the day. I got plenty of them on the top
Cool.
of my head already, so don't worry. This is the stuff that you already know, and it's stuff I talked to you at the bar anyway. So we're all set.
All right. Well, let's go back to when I was 17, and that was quite a while ago. Did work experience, blew up a computer because I thought I knew what I was doing, and wanted to buy some parts to fix the computer. Got told that you had to have a business to buy the parts wholesale. So started an MSP at the age of 17 with my brother. We've now had that for 32 years here in Australia. And 14 years ago, we couldn't find staff, so we opened an office in the Philippines. Hired a
Mm.
couple of technicians there that were using a program called Nagios at the time, which was for monitoring.
I
So, that,
remember
so
that
those that
one.
have been around for a while will remember Nagios. There wasn't a lot of AI, well, there's definitely no AI. There wasn't a lot of automation even, sort of 15 years ago. So we opened an office there. It was meant to be our back of house, and it's just grown into a very large organization called Techno Global Team, or TGT. And we now support hundreds of MSPs around the world with their staffing requirements, but not just technical, sales, admin, marketing, digital marketing, this sort of stuff. Because MSPs, the margins in the MSP market are too low. They need to increase. The MSP owners seem to be the whipping boys and girls of the industry. The customers want more, and we have to do more with less. And that's what we help people do. We give them back probably the most important commodity they have, and that's time.
100% with you. All right. So let
Yeah,
me.
so it's a snapshot.
Yeah, I love that. By the way, your story is very similar to my story. I started when I was 16, so I love that.
Unemployable in the real market.
Yeah, I was gonna say I had a lot more hair then, and yes, I agree with you. Unemployable in the real market. So let's rewind for a second. DattoCons, I think you've been at many of them.
I have indeed, yes.
Been a long running series. Kind of sorry to see that it finally comes to an end. I mean, they had almost a little over 1,600 people in Miami, so it definitely did not disappoint.
Mm.
Um, your opinion on larger industry events? I know maybe you have a different view being down under, but what do you think?
I just use one word: inevitable. When Datto and Kaseya merged, it was never going to last. Having two large events.
Hmm.
Interestingly, my take on large events, and you travel to a lot of them as well around the world. I think after COVID, everybody wanted to get out. Everybody wanted to go to these events. I think the lust and the desire to go to these events is dwindling. People's time is poor, and I think these events, if they don't reinvent themselves, are gonna really start to go to the wayside. I think the amount of money that's involved in these events and the cost, not just to the MSP but also to the vendors who support these events, is got to the point of ridiculous. And I think we need to pare it back, and we need to look at what the events are meant to be. Um, and so, yeah, I think the day of large events may be limited.
Okay, so I love this feedback. So for the event organizers out there that may stumble into this session here and playback, what's your advice on how to reinvent it so that it works?
Look, I don't have the answer. As an MSP owner, I want to be educated. I don't want to be sold to, for starters. I want the content to be relevant. Uh, as an MSP owner, putting the other hat on, moving the events around, I think is key. I think the mistake that some vendors make is having the event in the same venue in the same city again and again. Talking to a lot of MSP owners, they take advantage of the fact that they have to go to a conference and it's somewhere different. I think that is an absolute driving force. Um, I think the pool has been diluted because, right or wrong, as you mentioned earlier, there's an event in Australia shortly. There used to be one DattoCon worldwide. So
Hmm.
everybody would come together for it. I remember going to them and everybody would come with their different jackets or swag representing their countries, their nation. And it used to be a very big festival of IT. Um, I understand not everyone can travel, so they took shows to the people. But in doing so, I think it's lost a bit of its appeal.
That's
So
fair.
I would simplify the shows. I would move them around, and I would look at the format in which they're doing. I think there needs to be a lot more round table, a lot more peer to peer discussion. I think there needs to be a lot more of the smaller events, and that's certainly what we're targeting in 2026. A lot of the smaller events. We don't think as a vendor, we don't think the money is best placed in the larger shows simply because you don't get enough one-on-one time with for us, the owners and the managers, and get to have meaningful conversations.
No, I can't argue anything you just
Yeah.
said. And I mostly agree, to be honest. Okay. So let's flip the conversation to current day. So not a new topic. I'm going a little bit and rewinding for a second. I'm just reliving my, my journey myself. But so a lot of, and I'm thinking to my early days, right? Or like 2000s, right?
Hmm?
2000, 2005, 2008, even up to like 2010. A lot of the big name companies on our side, right? Like when I would call Dell for warranty parts repair, or if I would even call Microsoft, if I could actually get a hold of them, or whatever, right? Like a lot of outsourcing was done in the 2000s that I would say largely soured people's experience,
Hmm.
right? Like
Hmm.
it didn't go well. It felt like people had no clue what they were doing on the other side. They were reading off a screen. Like it, the accent really threw people off, and they would, ask for, basically it got to the point where they would just call in and say, "Give me somebody in the United
Yep.
States" as the first comment. And then, like, get into the 2010s, we saw, and it's funny, airlines are everywhere, but JetBlue, a US based
Hmm.
airline, not one of the bigs by any means. They usually partner with one of the top two or three. they were one of the early adopters of, hey, all these people are at home, broadband's now readily available. We're going to decentralize our call center and effectively have people work from home, from the living room,
Hmm.
right?
Yep.
And they were one of the first airlines to not have a actual dedicated call center location. They would just hire from, across the US and the different time zones. And like that model, the crowdsourcing model, if you would, kind of, but was born, right? Because the technology finally facilitated that. Fast forward to COVID, I think that finally really took
Yep.
hold of the masses, but they were early, early, early adopters, right? So then you got, another theme, another, track, if you would, was near shoring, right? Instead of offshoring, right? Like, hey, it may not be in the US with this crowdsourcing model. It may not be, it may be in a similar time zone, but like in Mexico or in Canada or in, Guam or Puerto Rico or Costa Rica or like some of these areas, right?
Yep.
And so that, again, varying results. Some people liked it because they felt they had better results, but some people said, hey, it's similar challenges, just different city, right? Or country, right? Okay. Then kind of now fast forward to people trying to do that with US based employees, right? And we can talk about all the names. And then past, now in the 2020s, especially now, this year, 2025, you're hearing about the AI agent.
Hmm.
And before this marketing of AI agents, you would call into the internet company, the credit card company, the airline company, and you would be just screaming into the phone, trying to say agent, operator, human being, anything to not do that.
Yep.
Argue with the computer. Different flavor now, but still same concept, right?
Yep.
And so this is now all of the rage, right? Hey, answer your phone 24/7. Talk to, this is people laugh at me, but I would love for you to argue or come up with a different point, but I just call it the 2025 version of the answering machine. It just talks back to you, right? Instead of
Yep.
just talking one way. So that's my description of it. And people are like, "Huh, I never thought of it that way." I was like, "It's really what it is." But okay, whatever. Um, so like that's the journey that I saw from, like, let's call it 2000 to 2025. Did I miss anything in between, or did you see it the same way?
Yeah, I think what we saw in the early 2000s, and I exactly as the MSP owner before I had the offshoring company, had the exact same argument with a supplier in Australia.
Hmm.
They outsourced all their support. It was a telco. They outsourced all of their support to Malaysia,
Mm.
and the quality of the support just dropped overnight. And
Yeah,
I was in a room with the CEO and a number of the executives and just said, you need to change this back or you're losing us. And
yeah,
then, ironically, I now own an offshoring company. And if I look back 20 years ago to that situation, it was because of the way they went about it. The outsource model to me, I've never liked because you as an owner have no control of how things are done or the output, the way your customers are actually dealt with. Now, the offshoring model, and that's when we in 2014 when we started, we decided that the previous models that were available were broken, and
hmm,
that we needed to do it a different way. And the only way you can do that, only an owner, with BVoIP and OneStream, only you can explain the value prop that you have, the passion that you have to the customer, and get the customer to understand that. If I try to do it, I can't do it as well as you because I don't know your business. I don't understand your business. If you train the staff member, they're going to get a better outcome than if I train them. And so we decided at that point that the traditional model was broken. So our model was more around that you hire the people yourselves in regards to the way you train them, run them, manage them, all those things, so that your customers' feeling of the way they're dealt with, and it's something that we don't talk enough about in the industry, feelings. And what I mean by that is, it doesn't matter what you or I think; it's how the customer feels.
I agree.
That's what's important. And it's the fact that the customers don't feel as though they're valued because they're not spoken to the same way. They don't get to talk to the same person again and again. And so the offshoring model really around 2014, 15 was starting to develop. And fast forward today to ask you a question about AI. AI will definitely take some of those entry level roles in the sort of outsource market where you ring up your credit card and you just want to know the balance of your flyby points or whatever that be. But business is still done between people. I'll give you a very quick analogy. Late last year, we bought our dog food online, an online store. Our dog passed away. I went onto the website. I wanted to stop the order. I had a bag of dog food that I didn't need. I was just asking whether I could return it. The AI went through a whole process, and after 15 minutes, I said, they said, "Why do you want to credit your dog food?" I said, "Because my dog died."
Mm,
And then after 5 minutes, 5 minutes, I timed it. It come up and said, "We're putting you through to a human." That's
hmm
the actual words. "We're putting you through to a human." And as soon as I got the person on the phone, they said, "Can I just understand, did your dog pass away?" I go, "Yes." "I'm so sorry about that. What we'd like to do as part of the company, is there a dog shelter near you? Can you donate that? We'll refund you the money. If you have a look right now, we've already refunded you the money for that dog food because it's a terrible time to go through." Empathy straight away. I don't have a pet right now, but when we get a dog, I can tell you I will be going back to that company because you got empathy. The AI can't deliver that. So I still believe that there is a room for this human interaction. Is it getting lost? Yes. But when people are at their most needy, do they want to talk to an AI bot or do they want to talk to a human being who actually cares? And I think
I'm
that's the
I'm with
difference.
you.
Yeah.
I'm with you. And I'm let me lean into that for a second. So we're seeing this type of technology rolled out, and I laugh about it because I bring it up all the time, like in the drive-through at the fast food place, or like all the big companies have deployed it for good or for bad, and like there's been some fails, and there've
Yep.
been rollbacks, right? And so at the end of the day, if we're trying to take the human being element out of the customer interaction, there you also have no clue when they just decide I'm out, right? Like you spent a lot
Hmm.
of time interacting with that computer or via phone call trying to return this dog food. What could have been a 3-minute human conversation turned into what sounded like a 20-minute, back
Yep.
and forth with the computer, right? And like to me, that's totally frustrating. And like how far will people go to, you know, go through that process before they give up?
Yeah, and look, and one of the things I talk a lot, I get asked all the time, do I think my business is going to go by the wayside? AI will take over all the technicians' roles. You just won't need staff wherever they are in the world. And I disagree. Look, for those that have been around long enough, plug and play in '94, when Windows 95 came out, we were told you don't need technicians because you just plug equipment in and it works. When Google come out, we're told you don't need technicians because people could Google their own answers. Um, AI's come out, we're told you don't need technicians because AI will fix everything. We've seen it again and again. There is absolutely a place for AI, and I believe if it's used as a tool to help the staff, you'll get quicker, faster, better outcomes without a doubt, no doubt at all. But if we push everything down that automated AI path, it reminds me of when Kaseya, the original Kaseya 1.0, first arrived in Australia. The MSPs that jumped on and started using Kaseya to automatically reboot services, send an invoice. Hey, great, we fixed your printer driver, we restarted it. By the way, here's your invoice. Um, our MSP didn't go down that path. I mentioned Nagios for monitoring, but we had human beings do all the patching, rebooting, all the bits and pieces. We picked up so much work because if you take the human element out of it, you become a commodity. And the
Hmm
only thing you can do with a commodity is trade on price. That's it.
Yeah.
And that's the risk that we face. The MSP industry over the last few years, my opinion only, is that we've been blindsided by all the marketing from the large SaaS providers in the industry and told to think about MRR and ARR and nothing else. None of them ever said, think about profit margin. And profit margins there, and for whatever reason, the MSP industry worldwide seems to think it's actually a bad thing to make profit. Well, profit's not just about you being able to go out and buy a bigger boat or a house or a car or whatever it is. Profit margin gives you stability and it gives you the ability to move your business around as needed. It's a safety net. It allows you to keep your staff. I'll give you an example. In our MSP in Australia, the 17 people, the average tenure of a staff member in my MSP in Australia is 18 years. The staff
Wow.
just don't leave
Wow.
because 14 years ago, we decided to offshore. And we took all those tasks that they don't want to do, that don't make them any money and add no value, but have to be done offshore. So I think we have to think about the way we run our businesses a different way.
That's fair. I mean, so number one, definitely, profitability is important. There's no question about that. And I think, there's all the bean counters out there, right, that tell you like a lot, even 20% of the MSPs aren't profitable. The
Yep.
next batch is like maybe break even. And then when you get to the people who are actually making money, what is good profit, right? It stinks because you would think technology should be a profitable business on its face, but the time part and the tracking of time and valuing of time, it seems to be the part that everybody loses in the whole conversation, in my opinion. And so I'm no guru, and there's plenty of them out there. I'm sure we've all run into them. But like when they come and say, "Hey, how do you know if a customer is valuable or not? Are you negative? Are you positive? Are you making money? Are you not?" I think the going theme has always been in my journey. Well, I'm just trying to make any money any way possible. And so I think that it gets diluted in, well, if half your customers you're actually losing money on, then why you even do it? Well, is it worth it? Are you just burning your time?
Yeah, look, there's two schools to thought. There's obviously some customers that, chew up a lot of time but don't make you money and you let them go. But I've always believed you've got to be ready when opportunity knocks. I did a whole session in Melbourne on that. And what I mean by that is we had a client in our MSP. He went and studied at Harvard, come back to Australia. This is in the early 2000s, and said to us, there's this new thing coming out in America called managed computing. You've got to look at it. We invested a lot of money in equipment in a data center, gave him access to a terminal server. Um, he went bankrupt 4 months later. And 4 months later, we're like, well, we've just invested millions of dollars in this concept. It wasn't really known as cloud back then. What do we do? And you can roll up and go, oh, I'm in trouble now, or you can make the best of it. We made the best of it. It allowed us to get into essentially cloud computing before it really became a thing. And we've had three of those moments through the last 30 years where you've just got to be there ready for an opportunity knocks. You never know which client could turn around and introduce you to your next number one client. You never know which client is going to grow and become the biggest client. So I agree with you. Whilst we don't take all work, it's got to fit sort of the customers have got to want to listen to what you want to do, especially these days with cyber risk. You can't just take anyone who's just not listening. You got to be ready when opportunity knocks because you never know where it's going to come from. People often say you're lucky, and I don't believe in that. You've got to put yourself in the place to be able to receive the luck, and be ready for when it comes. So I
I
think
agree.
that's yeah, where it needs to be.
I agree with that. So, do you still subscribe to the idea that not every customer is the same and that MSP should have a baby low cost model, middle, like the metals, right? Bronze, gold, silver type approach. Is that still a viable business model today, 2025 MSP, or is that really you shouldn't be doing that based on your what I guess your ideal customer is?
Yeah, I'm going to be controversial in this one. We do have managed customers, but we also still have break fix customers.
Hmm.
If you Gary Peaker's probably turning over right now, going no, no. But we still have break fix customers because what we found was you can't force everybody down one track. It's not right for everybody, and you've got to be true to the way you want to run your business. And for us, it was having both. You are right. There's different offerings for different clients in regards to what's right for them. Don't get me wrong. If you look at those shows of Gordon Ramsay when he goes into restaurants and the menu is 30 pages long, if you do everything, you can't do anything well. And so I'm not saying you do everything and you have all different plans for each customer. I'm saying you need to have a combination of both. You need the agility and the flexibility to move before or as the market's moving so you stay relevant. There's no
Okay.
point just telling everyone you only have one stream, and then all of a sudden it doesn't fit the market.
No,
Uh,
I agree. I think the way the talking heads always said it in every breakout session I've ever been in is like, hey, if you want to scale, then you need to be able to, you know, have everybody on common day-to-day things that you have to manage so that you don't have to learn unique environments all over the place because then, effectively every customer is really in their own lane, and then you're going to hit a glass ceiling, right? So
Uh,
how do you prevent the break fix people from like overtaking your bandwidth availability on a daily?
so two parts of that, I would say. Part one, again, another controversial statement. I will agree with ex Kaseya CEO Fred Vicola. There needs to be less tools in the stack. Now, it doesn't mean it has to be Kaseya tools. Um, I challenged, I've stepped back from the day-to-day running of the MSP, and my Andrew, who runs the company for me now, is my ex-senior engineer. And what we said was, we sat and we reevaluated, and I said, it's time for us to be a business again that does IT, not an IT company that's trying to be a business. And what I mean by that is you get swept up into all the releases of all the new SaaS products, all the new tools and flavors. And you're basically a technology company because you keep buying all these wonderful tools. And then you're trying to work out, how do I fit that into a pricing model? How do I fit that into the way I run my business? And I said, it's time for us to be a business again that does IT and
Hmm.
shrink the stack down. I believe that getting 70, 80, 90% out of the second best product on the market is by far better than getting 30 or 40% out of the best product on the market.
Hmm.
So sometimes it may not be the number one leading product in that market, but if your team can use it and use it well and get more out of it, your customer gets a better result, you get a better result because your customers are looked after better, quicker, faster, and it's done more economical. You're a business that's doing technology. So for me, that's the approach, I think, for starters. In regards to time, I got an easy answer to that. For every one person that I have onshore, I can afford 2 to 3 people offshore. So time is not a problem for me. I would much prefer that my staff spend the time that the customer needs to understand the problem, fix the problem, but not just that. In conversations like this, we're going to go on different tangents throughout this conversation. But if we'd had 5 dot points at the start and we did those 5 dot points and that was it, it wouldn't be a valuable or meaningful conversation. It's where the unknown takes you is where the value is. You can't do that if you just automate something and then don't have a conversation. Whilst I would say, and I don't know what the average is, but in my MSP, sorry, I shouldn't say mine because it's my brother and I, we have it together, family business. In our MSP, we have one salesperson. Ever only had one salesperson for 32 years. Now, the current salesperson, Ashley, has been with us for 26 years and he's been the sales guy for 24. The reason we have one is because our technicians are our salespeople. They listen, they listen for opportunity, and they're there to help the customer fix their business challenge by using technology. We're not there to sell, we're there to partner. And that's the difference.
I'm with you. All right, but let me rewind for a second because
Yep.
I love the controversial statements. I can't wait to cut this episode up. Um,
I may not get invited back to another industry event
no,
after
no,
this one.
no, no, no. It's okay. Hey, I love honest. I mean, quite frankly, I wish everybody was very straightforward. That's just how I like to do things here in the Northeast part, Philadelphia area here in the US. But everybody's like that where I'm from. But I digress.
George, George, if we're being honest, I got told by Thaddeus not to mention the NFL, and you did it right at the start.
No,
So
it's okay. That's all right. We can talk about anything. I might give you a hard time, but it's all good. Um, the bundle wars, right? You said, hey, all
yep,
the companies, may not be the best product, it may be the second or third best product, but if everybody is using it, and you're getting capacity out of it, then that's better, right? I love the comment of let's be a business first, IT company second. So like over the last, I don't know, 5 years ish, let's just call it pandemic times till now. Um, it seems like all the companies at the top of our space on the vendor supplier SaaS side have been just rolling it all up, right? And now it's a pricing conversation rather than a is it the best tool conversation. And don't get me wrong, there's still the school of thought of source the best that in each category that
yep.
you want and assemble them together versus hey, here's everything in a bundle and and just take it because it's a great price. Where do you stand then? Do you lean over to I want the best bang for my buck or how do you
Well,
come to the decision?
I'm not going to sit in the fence. I'm more on the bundle side, with the exception of there are going to be exceptions where you need to have the best of breed for a specific reason. Or
Hmm.
all I'm saying is, I was at an event at the start of the year, and one of the MSPs was talking, and he goes, "Oh yeah, we've got 42 different tools that we use." I said, "How many people in your company?" He goes, "There's 18." I said, "How could 18 people master 42 tools? It's impossible." Um, and I said, "Well, what about this one?" He goes, "Oh yeah, such and such is the product champion for that one." I go, "Great, but when he's away, what happens?" He goes, "Well, the others sort of know it." And I said, "Okay, but let me phrase it this way: if I'm your client, I don't want you to sort of fix the problem. I want you to fix the problem." And he goes, "Yeah, yeah, but it's the best." I go, "Okay, but if only one person in your organization can use that, is it really adding value to you, the business, and your clients?" So I right or wrong, last year we decided in our MSP we wanted to simplify the stack, and this is not a plug. Um, we decided to go down the path of Kaseya 365
Hmm.
just because I like the concept of simplification. My IT guys at the start very unhappy about that decision, very
Mm.
unhappy. They wanted the best of breed of everything, which is what they had. I reckon probably 5, 6 months in, both turned to me and said, "Best decision we've made." I go, "Why?" They said, "Because there's less coming up to them and more being handled down by our level twos and our level ones on the spot." So the pressure was not coming up. The jobs were getting done straight away. Um, don't get me wrong, we still have a lot of other. Um, so we went that path. I always say it's not right or wrong. It's what's right for your business at a point in time. Now,
Mm.
that point in time next year may change, but I strongly believe that businesses need to simplify the tools they're using and get back to being a business that does technology.
Interesting. So did like a lot of these SaaS companies, and we've all seen it, and a lot of it, in my opinion, is just the PE VC, kind of trickle down into our industry, right? But like the multi-year contracts, the stagger start stop, depending on when you purchased the product or the subscription. Like when you decided last year, hey, reset, let's go back and change what we're doing. How much overlap of that hit you before you were able to sort it all out?
Yeah, there was a little bit of overlap, but we just factored that in and said, "Well, we're going to spend this, we're going to do that. We've got to roll back if what we're doing doesn't work." Um, I always, when I get asked, and I'll just tie this into offshoring, when I always get asked by customers, "Should I offshore or not?" And I go, "Okay, piece of advice I got 30 years ago from my accountant. If you don't grow your business, you'll die. It's as simple as that. If a business doesn't grow, now that doesn't have to be more bums on seats. It doesn't have to be more revenue. It can be the people inside the business grow.
Mhm.
And I think um, what what I say to people is when they go to offshore, let's say the entry point is 50,000 US dollars. I'll
Mhm.
say to somebody, what I want you to do is think of it a different way. Take $50,000 and burn it. Don't, because that's illegal, but take $50,000 and throw it away. If you were to lose that $50,000, does that mean your business stops tomorrow? As in you're bankrupt, you're done, you're dusted. If the answer is yes, well, then don't be in business, go and work for somebody. If
Okay.
the answer is that would annoy me, but I would learn from it, then I say, well, the first person that ever bungee jumped, their heart and their head told them two different things. One said, give it a go, but you may die. And the other said, science tells me that that rope is strong enough to hold me, blah, blah, blah. So you're torn into two parts. Um, and that's what I think in regards to this. We just budgeted. We said, this is what it will cost us. At the end of it, we expect this outcome. But if we don't get this, this is what the alternate outcome will be. If we burn that cash or have that problem or have to go back, what would it look like for the business? The business would continue. We would be annoyed because we would eat into those profits. Going back to the start of our conversation, it's not bad to have profit because it allows you to take calculated risks like this. And luckily for us, this worked out. Um,
Hmm.
the
Okay.
as I said, for me, it's the fact that my senior engineers in the company are less stressed now than what they were a year ago because more work gets done and not pushed up the tree. And that
Yeah.
makes
So
a big difference.
what you've done is you've calculated a way to prevent burnout.
Yeah, yeah, correct. Yeah,
And
essentially.
that's a, by the way, legit problem. It's never going to go away. I mean, I hear about it. It's still now, 25 years into this thing. But um, so let's go the other way. Okay, so we talk, on one side you got I can't get to human being. I'm talking to the computer, AI agent, whatever you want to call
Yep,
it. On the other side is I want to give you the premium, I'm going to use a word that my colleague uses, bougie experience, right? I want
yep,
the VIP, first class, BMW, red carpet experience, right?
yep.
And then there's obviously in between those two extremes. But for the MSPs and just any service-based business that realize that, hey, I could have all the same products as everybody else. I could be delivering the same website marketing as everybody else. But if my customers love the experience, I can probably charge them a premium versus the guy down the street.
Absolutely.
How do you go and deliver the message for now this offshoring to you can deliver this red carpet experience, but take advantage of the economies that this now offers you? Like, don't those two themes just aren't they countering forces a little bit?
No, this is an easy one for me. So, when we decided to open up our office in the Philippines 15 or 14, 15 years ago, we knew it was going to be controversial. We knew
Hmm.
that some customers were going to be very unhappy about it. Uh,
Hmm.
uh, we turned around and we surveyed all of our MSP clients, and I said straight up, I'm similar to yourself. I don't beat around the bush. I get straight to it. I said, we're going to open an office in Asia. I
Okay.
can't find staff here in Melbourne, so we're on the east coast. The mining boom was happening on the west coast. There were nobody to hire. I can't find staff. I'm going to open an office in Asia. Obviously, it's a given. The wages are cheaper in Asia than they are in Melbourne. All right, not hiding from that. I can do one of two things. Number one, I can offer you a cheaper hourly rate if you deal with our level one help desk team in Asia.
Okay.
Option two, I can expand the working hours that our business is open. Back then, we were open sort of 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. That was our standard hours.
Bank hours. Yeah.
72% of our clients come back to me out of the survey and said, well, if you're interviewing, you're hiring, you're training, you're managing, they're your staff, they just happen to be in another location. We know the service level we get is going to be the same.
Hmm.
So we're happy to pay the same money no matter where we call, but you're not always open when we want help.
Hmm.
So in 2014, we changed our standard business hours to 8 a.m. to 8 p.m.
Okay.
Monday to Friday, and we called it 8 to 8 at the same rate. So
Ah, I like
12
that one.
hours 12 hours a day, 5 days a week was our standard business day. And we did that by top and tailing with the time difference between Australia and the Philippines. 72% of our clients would prefer longer hours, quicker support, and were less worried about where those staff were going to be.
What happens
Being
to the 28%?
well, well, ironically, we only had one complaint. One person ring up and say, "No, I don't want to talk to somebody overseas. I only want to talk to a support person in Australia." I say, I get it. And we can do that. Absolutely. It's on your card file that you're to be put through to an Australian support person. But can I just point out a fact? And I don't mean to be rude. You run an international import business. Yep.
Mhm.
You
Okay.
yourself have only been in Australia for 12 years.
Hmm.
You're an immigrant who's come here, but you don't want to talk to anyone else that's overseas. And he goes, fair point. And so we never, you have to embrace that. You will have some customers, for whatever reason, only want to talk to somebody in their local area. But I'll tell you this, George, after 32 years in the industry and 14 years in offshoring, I can tell you one thing I know categorically right now. People are more time poor than localist. And what I mean by that is they want their problem fixed. They, in the old days when your internet went down, and you and I are a little bit older, so dial-up modems. If your internet went down, you had to wait 3 days. You were good with that. 3 days was a great result. Your internet goes down now, you jump on your mobile device. If you lose your mobile device, you want it fixed within 5 minutes. People interact with shorts, YouTube and TikTok and all these multimedia and digital things. They want immediacy. They want
Mhm.
immediate gratification. And so people now are less worried. They want their problem fixed now. And you simply cannot hire enough people in a lot of the Western countries to support the volume that you need. Um, and if you go down the fully automated AI automation path, you lose the personal touch and you become a commodity. And again, all you can do if you're a commodity is compete on price. So electricity, water, those things. Want to change providers? It's all about price.
I agree. Okay, so what about all of the same human being problems that everybody in the Western world run into? My staff turns over. I have a hard time getting people trained up. My skill level, varies from person to person. And how do I fix that over time? Um, Professionalism and making sure that people
Yep.
are consistent, doing what they're supposed to be doing because everybody's going to be different. It's a personality thing. Like, I could go on, but these are all
Yep.
challenges every single business. I don't care if you're an ice cream stand to an
Yep.
MSP, have the same problem. So how does that then matriculate now to, well, these people aren't sitting next to me. The osmosis of learning by being in the same place doesn't happen the same way. And
Yep.
like, doesn't that make it harder?
Uh, so first of all, you've answered your own question. Um, those problems exist no matter where you hire people. But when you hire them offshore, the cost is a third to a half. So the risk is going down because you're not spending as much. You can take a risk on hiring a skill set or a person, or I'll give you an example, given that you're in telco. When we first arrived in the Philippines 14 years ago, I walked into a meeting with a BPO at the time, so a company over there, and we got chatting about phone calls in Australia. And they said, "Can you do SIP trunks?" And I said, "Yeah, sure, no problem at all." We got out of the meeting. My brother turned to me and said, "What's a SIP trunk?" I said, "I got no idea, but we've got 48 hours to work out how to sell them." So I rang my guys up in Australia and they said, "Oh, they're VoIP lines." I said, "Oh, okay, right." I said, "Well, we've got 1 week to be able to sell them." And they said, "Well, we need some voice engineers." So I walked back into the same company and said, "Can you hire me two voice engineers?" "Yeah, sure." So the company who needed our phone calls hired two voice engineers. We set up our telecommunications division that we had at the time. They were doing 40 or $50,000 a month in phone calls. Um, if I'd hired those voice engineers in Australia, I would never have done it
Hmm.
because a voice engineer in Australia was so expensive and so hard to find. But because I could find the talent that I needed at a reasonable price, I quickly run the maths in my head. Well, if it works, great. And if it doesn't, I haven't wasted too much money. So the risk comes down. You can try different things in your organization that you can't just try locally. Do the problems exist? Absolutely. It will only work if you treat your staff as your staff,
Hmm.
irrelevant of where they're located. If you have stand-ups, huddles, if you do rewards, coffees, treats, things like that. But the one thing you'll get with an offshore team, no matter where they are in a developing country, anywhere in the world, is the desire to work and do well because
Hmm.
they need the money. They don't want the money. And I talk a lot. I've got three young kids that probably were running past before. Um, Wants versus needs. You want things, but if you want everything and get it, then you won't have the money all the time when you need something. And the difference is that people in those countries that have less need the job, they need the money, and they're going to do everything they can to protect that and make sure they do a good job. I
Okay.
can tell you onshore staff want more money, want more privileges. There's a big difference between the two. And as long as you know that and work with that, I think that you can get that white glove service with your team offshore as long as you commit to the training. And our MSP, we send one staff member from Australia to the Philippines every month for a week. We just built it into our budget. We factored in the cost, and it means that we join the two teams together. We now don't talk about our onshore or offshore team. We talk about our sales team or our marketing team or our tech team. It's irrelevant, as you mentioned earlier, with JetBlue, the fact that people were spread everywhere. They would have talked about their help desk service. It
Hmm.
was irrelevant where they were if you train them the way you would normally train somebody. So hopefully that answers your question.
No, it's a great point. So you're working with obviously MSPs everywhere, not just Australia. I'm sure you have a reasonable amount of US and Canadian based MSPs. I can I can imagine them saying sending somebody once a month to the Philippines would be challenging. But how do you see that happening?
Um, it depends on your willingness to travel. I would say yes. In my general opinion, I find that North Americans travel long distance less than what Australians do. For us, I mean, I live in Melbourne, Australia. My office is in the Philippines, which is an 8.5 hour plane ride away, and most of our customers are in North America. So,
Mhm.
like yourself, I'm on a tin can more often than I care for. It
Mhm.
doesn't bother me. My guys in Australia are happy to sit on an 8 hour flight. That's just a little flight for them. 5 of those 8 hours is crossing Australia. So for us, it's no big deal. Um, there are direct flights from Los Angeles. There's direct flights from San Francisco, from New York. You can get to the Philippines in, you know, 10, 12 hours from the West Coast, 14, 15 hours from the East Coast. Um, it's cheap. It's not expensive. And if you think ahead and budget it, when we first decided to open our office in the Philippines, I went to all my staff in Australia and said, I'm going to open an office. Who wants to go and live there 1 year, all expenses paid? Well, everybody put their hand up. Everybody wanted to do it. I guarantee if you walk back into your office and say, I want to send somebody next week to the Philippines, all expenses paid, who wants to go? You'll get volunteers. But you just have to think ahead and put it in your budget for the year and go, this is my training budget. This is what it costs. And for an Australian company, it's probably 2,500 Australian dollars a month. That's only, you're only talking 30,000. What's that, 10,000 US these days with the currency the way it is. It's not much money, but it's the meaning. It's how you get that white glove service. It's how you bridge the gap and the difference.
But
And I
is
think
the
that's the key.
okay, is the skill set there though, right? Like I mean, your
Yep.
example of voice engineers, like, how did you know they even knew what the hell they were doing? I mean, I guess
Oh,
the result, right? But could have gone
yeah.
bad.
Oh, absolutely. And it hasn't gone bad in the past for sure. There are people that can interview well
Mhm.
and are terrible at their job once you hire them. But
Mhm.
that's the same the world round. That's not an offshoring thing. That's a people thing. Some people are professional interviewers. Um, uh, Yet you're always going to have that. And I would say if you go into this thinking that the skill level in developing countries per se is the same as the Western world, you're wrong. The skill level is lower in most cases. And the reason being is they may not have had access to the technology. They may
Mhm.
not have a room in their house they can set up and play with technology. But I tell you what, the passion, the drive, the average age of we've got over 1,000 staff there. The average age of our staff would be 26, 25, 26. So not far off that learning phase. Average age of my staff in Australia, that would be mid to late 40s. They don't want to go back and learn and study. And so, yes, I have one rule only, and that is hire on personality. Hire on personality because skills can be taught. And again, if we go back to being a people business and adding value, the people skills are important. Um, I guess also an interesting fact, uh, I think it's about 60% of our staff are female. So you get access to a diverge market as well. Um,
Hmm.
we actually had our conversation last week. 75% of my senior management is female, which we didn't realize until we actually were doing a survey the other day. And that's not by design. That's just by you hire the best people and get out of the way, let them do their job. And so you do have access to a different pool of talent, and not just skill set, age, gender, all sorts of things. So you're right. Look, you're going to have that problem. You need to vet them carefully. But if you train them and meet with them on a regular basis, treat them as part of your organization, you can weed out those ones very early on and keep the cream. So employee number one from 15 years ago, Jun Tamea, he's still with us today. Employee
Hmm.
number one,
That's
15
amazing.
years later.
So you said 1,000 people?
Yeah, we're just over 1,000. We've got about 80 open positions right now that we're filling, and
Hmm.
that'll take us just to around 1,100.
So like, I assume a common question, I'm gonna ask it, is like, like access to the internet, power, do people show up on time? Like, what are they, like all your eggs in one basket, right? Like we see it here in the US, right? Different people in different climates, right? Snowstorm, blizzard versus tornado versus hurricane, right? Like I guess it
Yeah.
depends what state you chose to live in. But like is this not a problem there? Or
It's absolutely a problem. We've had 3 earthquakes in 2 weeks in Cebu, one of our offices. Um, we have 4 different buildings spread out through the Philippines, and we have one building in Sri Lanka. So we also have a Sri Lankan workforce as well. So we're spread in multiple countries and multiple locations. We're what we call an office first company. We prefer our staff to be in the office because we have redundant fiber optic connections to landing stations. We have redundant power. So our buildings have full 100% gen sets. Each building have UPSs for the 6-second switch between mains to generator power for the building. So we've built in all this technology. Before we started this business, one of our key parts of our MSP was connecting Australian companies to Asia through the undersea subsea cable network. So we understand international IP transit very well. It's a big market. And so the routing and all that, it's the part that we do very well. And so from a technology stack, we're not worried in regards to the facilities. 15 years ago, absolutely. To buy a 10 meg IP transit costs more than a small car these days, and that was every month. So yes, things have come down. In regards to those events, we want people in the office. Being an office first company, 92% of our staff work out of one of our buildings.
okay.
That's also for their well-being. And what I mean by that is electricity is very expensive. And so
Hmm.
if you're working at home and electricity is expensive, you don't have the air conditioning on, and there's only 2 seasons in the Philippines. That's hot and that's hot and wet. They're the 2 seasons. And so you want to be, if you are comfortable, you're more productive. And so having people in the office makes more sense. But traffic is a nightmare, which is
Hmm.
why we open more and more buildings, because we bring our offices to the people instead of
Mhm.
people coming to our office. When they're in our office, we have our own doctors, our own nurses, we run our own medical clinics and all our own buildings.
Hmm.
Staff get free lunch every day. They get free breakfast on a Monday. They get free treats on a Friday. And our attendance is probably at around 98% on time.
Wow.
I
That,
cannot say the same stat for my Melbourne team, different reasons. But to answer your question, they need to work and they value their job. So, yes, staff turn up on time, are passionate about what they do, and genuinely want to do the best job they can.
interesting. So, wow, it's almost like you built a campus with, your own little city.
Pretty, pretty much. If you look after the people, if you look after the staff look after the customers, and if they look after the customers, then everyone's happy, and that's the key to it.
How's the retention for those people though, right? Like that's I mentioned that earlier. That's a big problem. Like in your
Yep.
MSP, by the way, awesome, by the way. I love that. I wish everybody was able to achieve that. I don't think that that's the standard. I think that's the exception in my experience. But
Yep.
from the staff on the other side, how like I imagine because of how hard it is to get somebody up to speed, build the skill set, build the culture with that person, right?
Yep.
Maybe there's a language barrier, not sure. But then if that person disappears for whatever reason, now you're stuck rehiring. I guess we could talk about rules of two. Don't hire one at a time, hire two at a time because maybe you can afford to do that. But I digress. How do we answer that?
So first of all, we say to somebody who's starting off exactly that: hire two. On your first hire, don't expect to save money. Hire 2 people for the price of one. So your first one is cost neutral. There's no saving.
Mhm.
But we've given you the most precious commodity, time. We've given you an extra 40 hours a week to get things done because you have 2 staff members, not one. Um, then, in regards to it, if one was to leave, the other one is already trained and can upskill the replacement. You will have some replacement. The attrition rate is extremely low. It would be running at maybe 3 or 4%. Um,
Hmm.
do people leave? Absolutely, for different reasons. We have an entire department, our employee engagement department, that runs games, festivities. The Techno Fiesta is coming up. The Techno Fiesta is a 4-day event in the Philippines. We're trying to get you out there, George. We want to get you over to the
You'll get
Philippines.
one of these times you'll get me, I
We'll
promise.
get you. We'll get you sooner or later. But we run lots of massive social events. So last year, the Christmas party was 1,000 people. Rock Carnival Festival. We had a headlining band, which was the #1 band in the Philippines. This year, we're going even higher again. The aim is to make. We all have to work, so let's make work fun. And we call it the fun department, which is employee engagement, to keep the staff engaged. And that's the key to it. Making sure that it's more fun to be in the office and working for TGT than to be at home working for another provider who wants you just to do the job. We don't want you just to do your job. We want you to have a life. And that's what we help with. And I think that's the key to getting that longevity that you're talking about. Of my management team in the Philippines, the average tenure of my management team of 12 people would be coming up to 8 years.
Wow.
So you can get longevity. I'm not saying everybody will get that. It's how you treat the staff and how you engage. That's going to be the testament to whether you get longevity. But you know what, George? That's the same whether you hire them in the US, in Canada, in Ireland, in Switzerland, or in the Philippines. It's how you engage with your staff and treat them is whether you're going to get longevity or not.
I can't argue that. Okay, Techno Fiesta. If people are interested to check this out, I assume you bring people in. I mean, I'll get there at some point, but how do they learn more about that?
Yeah, so just jump onto our website, technoglobalteam.com, or jump onto, I think it's technofiesta.com. I should know this, shouldn't I? I'm just typing it now. I think it's technofiesta.com, or one word, and you'll see last year's one. We've got big Shawnee from Kaseya front and center on the photo there. Kaseya was one of our sponsors last year, and we appreciate their support again this year. It's it's a 4-day learning for MSP owners
Mhm.
and senior managers. It's a chance for them to come over and embrace their team and talk to their team at Christmas. Very important religious time for the Philippines. But more importantly, owners can have a conversation about what's happening in their business. You
Mhm.
can't have that conversation with somebody below you in your organization.
Yeah.
You can't whinge down. And so I think one of the challenges that we see are MSP owners that are single owners.
Yeah.
If they're not part of a peer group where they can share frustrations, there are far too many people in the industry that are stressed.
Mm.
Some take, some life decisions that ultimately end in tragedy, and we want to stop that. We want MSP owners to come over, and the reason we want them to come over and get out of their business, if you leave your country and come to another country, you have to switch off to a certain degree because you're on a different time zone. It forces you to have downtime. I was stuck in Hong Kong 2 weeks ago for 19 hours. Another story on my way home. And I called it 19 hours of nothing. I did a LinkedIn post on it. And a lot of people have downtime physically, but mentally they never have downtime. And that can just be that you don't have to worry because you can't help because you're asleep when it's your daytime in America. Take people out of the organization, bring them over. And you mentioned at the start of this, and it's ironic that towards the end, we're going to wrap it up with the same one. Most of the best conversations, knowledge, and ideas are at the bar.
Every
It
time.
happens socially, not structured. And that's what the Fiesta is about, getting people outside of their comfort zone so owners and managers can share passion, they can share knowledge, but most of all, they can share their frustrations to get it out so they become better leaders.
Like an informal peer group.
Absolutely. We'll call it a bar peer group.
I like that. You should use that. You should definitely use that.
I'll trademark that as soon as we finish.
There you go. See that? I love value coming out of these. Okay. So technoglobalteam.com
Yep.
or technofiesta.com.
Dot correct. Technofiesta.com will show you the 4 days and some photos and a video to show you what it's all about. And then the technoglobalteam.com. If you're interested in offshoring, that's the place to go. You can hook me up on LinkedIn. You'll find me on LinkedIn pretty easy, Peter Bell. There's only a couple of us on there, so you'll find me quite easily. Happy to chat with anybody. 32 years in the industry, I'm more now about having conversations and helping people with their business. Uh, I will just tell you the 32 years of mistakes that Darren and I have made
Mm.
so that you don't have to, and you can pick just one thing out of it that helps your business. Well, then that's a win for both of us.
It's like I'm talking to the Australian version, my Australian brothers from Philadelphia, but not really. That's by the way, as a guy who's learned the hard way my entire career and journey, and will continue to probably do so. Although I've learned some things finally. Sometimes it's better to learn from everybody else figuring out what broke and how to fix it before you have to figure it out the hard way. I know I've been saying that. It's kind of logical. I'm just telling you, I've learned more from these conversations in saving myself time.
Yep,
Okay. Not saying you can't figure it out, but like time is the thing nobody can get back. I don't care how much money you have, right? Until like the DeLorean's a thing and you can drive back
yep.
in time. So please, 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 I don't care if it's, although Techno Fiesta is sounding better and better every time I hear about it. Not Techno Fiesta, which by the way, I can't help but notice we started off this conversation with how to fix the big event for the event planners. It sounds like you took a page and said, we're going to do something different. And this is what came out of it, which is awesome, by the way.
It's
Uh,
interesting. I spoke to the vendors about the vendor booths and things like that, and I just said that the problem there is you don't get meaningful conversations. You get scans and clicks, and
yep.
you don't get conversation.
Yep.
And I said, what I want is I want to, as a vendor, I want to immerse myself in amongst the groups and have conversations with them and hear about their challenges and how, I may not be able to help, but I might know somebody that can help. And we've got, you obviously know Thaddeus. Thaddeus is ex-Datto, but Thaddeus runs our channel program over there in the US. And Thaddeus is about helping the business,
Hmm.
not selling our service. Because if we help your business get bigger and better and whatever that be, when the time is right and you need, you'll give us a call. Um, and so, yeah, I think that's the key to it. It's having that conversation, seeing how one business can help another. At Fiesta last year, we had a freight forwarder talking to an IT company and gave them ideas about how they do something, and it
Hmm.
resonated. I sat in a board meeting last week, and I had one staff member give an idea, and I said, no, that's not going to work. A second staff member gave an idea, and I said, no, that's not going to work. But if you took half of what you said, and put it together, guess what? You two just come up with the answer. And watching them light up, I tell my staff, you have to be okay with no. And they said, what do you mean? I said, quite often the answer may be no, but challenge why and ask. I will never say no to somebody without not then explaining why the answer is no. It's no for now for that request. It doesn't mean never ask again. And it doesn't mean don't bring up the next idea. And they're the sorts of things at the Fiesta we sit down and we work with people and we share knowledge.
I love that. I wish more of that happened, to be honest. But for some reason, to your point, the pens and the bouncy balls and all the other stuff that people give away seems to be.
Swag. So look, we're known as the Tim Tam Company, and everyone
Mhm.
can't work out why does a Filipino company give away an Australian cookie. And it's my favorite biscuit. We call it a biscuit, not a cookie, but it's my favorite cookie, and so that's why we give them away because I don't want to be wasting time giving swag away to technicians who don't want to talk to you because they think you're going to try and steal their job. When if only they realised if they had a junior technician under them, they could take a third of the work they don't want to do that adds no value but has to be done and get them to do it. We can make their life so much happier. And so
Hmm.
it's education.
I love that. What are your thoughts on the way out the door here? Um, as you can see, we're big NFL, even though Thaddeus told you not to talk. So NFL is coming to Australia in 26.
Yes, yeah, coming out for a game. I think it's at the MCG. Look,
Yeah. What's the vibe?
so Thad mentioned not to mention
That's
the
okay.
NFL because I
I'm gonna
believe your
pull the plug.
team may
I'm gonna
not be
pull it.
doing the best at the
It's
moment.
okay. It's okay. It's
To
early.
make
The long
to
season.
make you to make you feel better, our game is the AFL. The season's just finished. I'm a Kangaroos and North Melbourne supporter, and we've been second bottom for 3 years running. So I've got nothing to cheer about in sport at the moment. Uh, when we first come to America, Thaddeus made me follow the New England Patriots because that's his
Okay.
team. But
Hmm.
that was after their successful run, so I've had no real
Ah.
success then. My brother-in-law is a Canadian. He made me follow the Blue Jays. Again,
Okay.
no great success. So I don't know. I'm qualified enough to talk about sport in North America because I don't seem to be getting many wins on the board. Um, I think it'll be great. There's a big following for NFL in Australia, and I
Okay.
think it'll be the MCG. And I'm very biased. Is one of the most beautiful grounds to watch sport at. Um, 110,000 people packed in there. It's a coliseum. I think it's the closest you would get to the original Colosseum days back in Greece. I reckon, the Australians love their sport, no
Hmm.
matter what that sport is.
All right. So if we want to make this an industry event, not a conference, we're trying something different. The
Yep,
NFL in Melbourne,
absolutely.
Australia, 2026. Do you think that that would go over well?
Well, absolutely. You come out here and TGT and you will put something on and we'll make it a spectacle.
Nice. We're gonna do that. Let's circle that on the calendar. We're gonna figure that out because I know the NFL in Europe has gone very well. They went to Brazil. They've gone Spain, Germany, obviously UK. They just did their first game in Ireland this year, but they signed a 3-year deal at that venue in Melbourne for NFL in Australia. So I'm excited for it.
Oh, look, Australians love all sport, and we'll go and watch anything. There is as I said, the NFL is very popular over here. The Super Bowl, when it's on, it's very early morning for us, but I've got two staff in my office in Melbourne that take that morning off, and they love it. So no, we've got to get you out here. I think you would love watching a sporting event out here. Are you coming for DadoCon in 2 weeks?
We'll be there that whole week.
Well, there you go. There you go. I assume you got your sidekick Alec with you.
I mean, Mr. First Class, right? I mean, absolutely. Now, I will put a stipulation in there. Both of our other halves told us that if we're not back in time for Halloween for kitty trick or treating, that we're in trouble. So
Ah, yes, yes.
I had to
Uh,
factor that into the travel itinerary, but we will be there nonetheless.
As somebody who's juggling events, I get it. IT Nation Orlando's coming up, and I have to fly out of Melbourne at 5 a.m. that morning, and that morning is my son's birthday. So I have to
Oh,
wake him. I have to wake him up at 3 a.m. to say goodbye and happy birthday, to hop on a plane to then get over to IT Nation. So it's always a juggle. I get it.
yeah, let's get it. But I'm excited for that week. I'm sure I'll see you down there, it sounds like. So we
Yes.
will.
Yep.
I will bring my notebook and we'll write. We'll do the back of the napkin thing. We'll figure out this game plan for 26. But
At a
uh,
bar, of course.
I mean, if we're not doing it there, then I think Alec won't be there. So let's make sure that we don't lose him, right? I mean, the credit.
I have warned Alec that Darren, my brother, this will be his first event back out in 6.5, 7 months after surgery on his leg. So Alec's been warned that Darren's ready to accept the challenge.
Well, you have definitely picked the right person for the challenge on the other
In
side because
indeed.
although I will say the one time I've seen Alec get drunk under the table was with a Kiwi who I swore the guy just inhaled like it was just how he breathed. I don't know what happened there, but I digress. He is not Superman. There is a limit to all things, but we'll see how far we can pressure
Well,
test.
you and I can sit there and get the business done, and those two can sit there and have a drink.
I
You
like
always
where
need to have one serious person and one joker.
I like it. I like it a lot. Peter, for everyone listening here, literally, because you're not watching the video version of that, Peter, like you would, Peter, Bell, like Alexander
Yep,
Graham Bell,
that's the
Bell,
one.
technoglobalteam.com, technofiesta.com. Please, hey, reach out to Peter. I mean, it sounds like he's one of the ones that actually will talk shop with you. I love those people. He's not trying to sell you something. If there's a benefit there, awesome. But this guy's clearly learned something. And I love the tagline. I might make it the title of this episode. Let's get back to running a business and like we'll run technology second, right? And I think if more people understood and like took that model to heart, everybody would probably be in a better place for it. And you've learned a lot of things over 32 years, you and your brother. By the way, tell your brother, glad that he's back on his feet. Well, I guess I'll tell him that in 2 weeks too, but you better be
You
ready. Better be
you'll
ready.
see him. He's
Uh,
got 7 months of making up to do, so he'll be ready.
100%. So reach out to Peter, guys, and just ask for advice. What do you
Yep.
got to lose? Business owner to business owner? I would do that every time. So don't hesitate to do that. Peter, thank you for spending a little over an hour with us this morning. I appreciate you jumping on. I'll bother Thaddeus. I see him that over there in the background. Thaddeus, thanks for piecing all this together, and looking forward to seeing you soon, Peter.
My pleasure, George, and we'll see you down under in 2 weeks.
Awesome. Guys, this
Uh,
session was recorded. It'll be on mspinitiative.com. We'll send you to all the places to watch it. We'll catch you on the next one. Please go to mspinitiative.com to register for the block parties or the channel sports tour. They're all for you. If you're an MSP, and they're free. You lose nothing other than get to network and with a little bit of time over some non-conference time, hopefully, with some of your peers. So check it out. Catch you on the flip side, guys. Have a good one.
Cheers, George.